Tales of Zestiria doesn't make the best first impression. It starts slow with few options available during combat and a cliché premise. An unlikely hero must band together with his motley crew of friends to save the world. Just when you're about to write the game off, though, things start getting better. Battles become more involved, and the characters open up in interesting ways. By the end, we no longer trudged along, but instead found ourselves eagerly curious to see it all wrap up. Returning Tales to its high fantasy roots, Zestiria is inhabited by humans, the angel-like seraphim, and monsters known as hellions. Humans worship the seraphim, and in turn, seraphim bless the land. An evil force known as malevolence corrupts human and seraphim alike, turning them into hellions. Saray, a young man raised in a seraphim village, takes on the mantle of the shepherd, essentially a blessed warrior tasked with purifying the malevolence. All the while, two powerful kingdoms, Highland and Rollins, are on the brink of war. You get to see how the malevolence and conflict hurt people on all sides, from humble village folk to citizens of giant cities. As the group travels from place to place, learning more about the world around them, they reflect and change as well.
Our tales tell that one of those dragons still remains in Rayfolk's Spirit Crest.
But the Celestial Record doesn't mention anything like that.
The problem is that, especially early on, Zestiria seems intent on halting its own momentum. There are so many instances when the dialogue amounts to little more than overly elaborate exposition. There's a lot going on in Zestiria, and it's clear the game doesn't want to confuse players, but that's no excuse for certain conversations to be so sterile.
But it'll be fine. Lila's never heard of that legend either.
Yet the lively and occasionally very humorous main characters keep you moving forward. Lila is the type of person who just can't be kept down, letting loose puns whenever she can. Edna is the exact opposite. A constant cynic, she has no problem insulting others in the most deadpan of voices. The strongest member of the cast is Rose, who's just as much of a hero as Saray. Her confidence inspires others, and she's willing to get her hands dirty if it's for the greater good. Yet even in the worst situations, she puts on a smile. Throughout the 40-hour journey, the characters go through a lot together, suffering loss, self-doubt, and betrayal. The most emotional moments resonate because there's an appropriate amount of build-up beforehand, saving what would otherwise be another rote fantasy tale.
Absolutely! With all four of us wearing it at once, we'll activate a cute union bonus for extra cuteness!
Tales is often praised for its various battle systems, and Zestiria offers its own take on the series' real-time combat. Every character has access to different types of abilities known as arts, and certain arts trump others, creating a sort of rock-paper-scissors dynamic. Over time, it's important to know how arts chain together to create the most damaging combos. Additionally, many enemies are weak to certain elements, and exploiting those weaknesses is the quickest path to victory.
Eat this!
The biggest aspect of combat is the new Armatization feature. Human characters can merge with Seraphim, combining into more powerful entities with their own elemental slants and unique movesets. While Armatization can definitely give an edge during battle, it also presents a significant risk. If killed, both characters are out of the fight instead of just one. However, Armatization can also be used for recovery. If a human character is dead but a Seraphim is alive, Armatization actually revives the human, preserving precious revival items. There's enough to consider during combat to keep it from becoming tedious. Zestiria is one of those games where putting in additional effort continually results in discovering more efficient ways to fight.
Too easy.
What's far less successful are the equipment and skill systems. Each piece of gear has one or more skills attached to it, providing buffs like improved defense, better recovery, and so on. These skills can be combined in several different ways for powerful benefits. Equipment of the same name can also be fused to make something even greater. The idea is that you shouldn't wear, buy, or sell gear solely based on its stats, since skills can often make up for certain deficiencies.
Yes, that's 1000% correct.
While it's admirable that Zestiria is trying to offer more depth than what's typically seen, the whole thing ends up being rather cumbersome. Constantly checking which gear has what skills and how all of the different pieces work in unison takes far too long. It would be fine if gear was acquired at a moderate pace, but you're always picking up new equipment, and therefore spending quite a bit of time tinkering in menus. Dealing with so much minutia saps any excitement away from wielding a new sword or putting on new armor.
It's no good. There's not even a keyhole.
Other issues are not necessarily ruinous on their own, but become frustrating when added together. Environments are impressively big, but are rather bland and empty, making exploration less thrilling than it could be. When you're indoors, the camera does a terrible job of keeping track of the action. There are times when the game will give you nothing but vague hints on how to proceed, leading to aimless wandering. It doesn't help that fast travel is frequently limited for seemingly no reason at all, so you'll often teleport to a nearby location rather than the place you actually want to go to. Zestiria is also guilty of padding, with the worst example being a tiring collectathon at the very end.
I suppose this hellion must be the source.
Lucky for you it isn't a ghost, Nick Leo.
I told you it's not like that. Save it for later.
Yet when the credits rolled, we didn't feel relief, but rather disappointment that the adventure was over. There's a lot to criticize in Tales of Zestiria, but the combat and characters make it enjoyable regardless. Like many good role-playing games, it's easy to get lost in, whether that means fine-tuning your strategies or watching the various character arcs unfold. At its best, Zestiria reminds us that the Tales series still has life left in it.
Charge!